just want the public to be aware that tonight's committee of the whole has been cancelled. One of the primary reasons of that is that we're exploring new engagement strategies on how to get more feedback from the public on a regular basis on a variety of issues. That being said, tonight on our agenda 10B, we're going to be discussing a fee setting amendment to a bylaw number 3295, transit fares. And so my recommendation then would be that the agenda for a regular council meeting of January 26, 2015 be adopted with an amendment that under 4C, we allow a delegation for the public to input on transit fees. So if there's anybody here that would like to comment on the transit fee, that under item 4C, they could come forward and talk about that issue. And so I'd like to recommend them move. Okay, move by seconded. Okay, all those in favor? Okay. Item 3A, recommendation that the minutes of the special council meeting of December 15th, 2014 be adopted as amended. Moved. Seconded. All those in favor? Motion carried. 3B, a recommendation that the minutes of the regular council meeting of January 12th, 2015 be amended as I have a quick amendment to that minutes on the last page, page 12. Under the small business task force section, it says moved by Councillor Moreau and seconded by Councillor Cunningham to create a small business task force. After that should say by select standing committee. And then also the Prince Rupert tax base. Did you get that, Mr. Mandrick? Okay. So I'll entertain a motion. Okay, moved. Seconded. All those in favor? Motion carried. And 3BC, that the minutes of the special council meeting of January 12th, 2015 be adopted. Moved, seconded. All those in favor? Okay. Motion carried. So we have a couple petitions and delegations tonight. Up first is Mr. John Farrell from Community Futures regarding the 2015 Northwest Growth Conference.
Thank you, Your Worship, Council, City staff, and members in the at home, community members at home and in the gallery. My name is John Farrell. I'm the General Manager of Community Futures. I'm with me tonight is also Paul Vendertelli with Prince Rupert and Port Edward Economic Development. Paul and in his stead, along with Hecate Strait Self-Employment, our partners in putting together the first of what we're hoping is an annual growth conference in the Northwest. And and I should tell you, it's the date, so you put it on your calendars, is March 6th and 7th. It's coming up pretty soon. Like all good ideas, this one started off as a conversation that Kathy Bedard and I had from Hecate Strait Hecate Strait Employment Development Society. Before Kathy retired, we were worried about, with all the growth that's coming, we were concerned that it would pass by small business and medium-sized businesses, as it has in some jurisdictions like Gladstone, Australia, where sudden growth came quick and there wasn't a lot of time to prepare. And there was a lot of small businesses, local small businesses, that just didn't get caught up in the opportunities. And so our concern is twofold. So that's one, that we might miss those opportunities, but also that there's a lot of information on the growth that's coming, but it's usually coming at the government level, stakeholders, and a lot of that isn't trickling down to the businesses, the grassroots businesses in our town, in Terrace, in Kitimat, in Port Edward. And so what we wanted to do is really structure 2 days, where the first day is a chance to find out what those opportunities are for small business, either those starting up, those that are expanding, those that want to position for growth, or those that are looking for an opportunity to sell their businesses because it's time to retire. So we wanted to really allow them to see what that was going to look like, those opportunities. And then the second day, we're really going to look at tools. So if you look at, and it's in your packages, but for those at home, I'll just go through a little bit of the conference itself. So the first day really is about looking at the opportunities in the Northwest. So we will have speakers that are going to be, Ken Veldman's going to be here from the Port of Prince Rupert, and we have other representatives of mining and LNG that are going to be talking about the opportunities. And this is the opportunities in the Northwest. So this is the Tri-City area as well, including Terrace and Kitimat. And then we're going to be having another workshop called Storytellers from Rapid Growth Economies. So we've invited some very interesting folks, both in government and in the private sector, to talk about their experiences in Fort St. John and Kitimat, and really share with us best practices for preparing for the growth that's coming. And then we've also got near and dear to a lot of people that are already experiencing some of the downsides of growth in the business community, like poaching. There's a piece, there will be a piece on recruitment and retention. And then that night, we'll be ending the evening with a failure wake. And this is a chance for entrepreneurs to talk about the failures they've experienced along the way to success. So I think that would be quite interesting, and it's also a taste of the coast. So we'll feature a lot of the restaurants that in here and around the Northwest that are caterers for a lot of the businesses and industry that need caterers. So the next day, which is March 7th, we're going to be starting off really looking at how can we position these businesses for growth. So Women Enterprise Center will be doing a full workshop just on growth strategies, and I should mention that the day starts at 6:15 a.m. with yoga from Sakara Yoga Studios. So that for those early starters or people new to yoga, this is a good chance to stretch and get ready for the day. But there's other things that we're going to be looking at, like how do we position businesses for procurement? How do they get into the supply chain? And we're going to do things a little differently. We're going to have a boot camp on how you go about that process, but we're also going to have businesses that have been successful at going through the pre-qualification stage. So these are companies that have banded together with other companies to take subcontracts in some of the largest projects in Northwest BC. We're also going to be asking some successful industry players like Alcan to come and share their best practices on how did they start negotiating to make sure that local companies had a piece of the pie. How did they start negotiating to make sure that the trades that are involved aren't coming from Winnipeg, not to pick on Winnipeg, but Winnipeg over our own people here. And so those are some of the things that we're looking at. We're going to be workshops on succession strategies, how to sell your business, and doing business with First Nations, access to capital. One of the real pieces here that I think was built into this conference that makes it a little different from others is that we wanted people to leave with things in hand. Like, then they'll know who the finances are. They'll leave with some of them that are starting up with their business plans. So we're going to have a coaches corner where businesses can sign up and register to go and have free one-on-one training with procurement coaches, with business planners, with evaluators to evaluate their business, with marketers and branders to get the next step, step ahead of the game and try and figure out how to successfully market their business. And one of the other pieces to this, and Paul just briefly talk about that, is a trade show component to the conference.
Thank you, John, Mayor and Council. So one of the other components to the trade show or to the conference is the exhibition show, which will be 25 booths. That'll be 8x6. They'll be within the conference in the convention center. So as you're picking up notes from the conference, you can go over to a booth and discuss strategies or get help from that booth. Like, so some of the booths we're looking at would be like lenders or real estate, legal, accounting type firms, web design. We have the local Stuck-On Designs will be there. We're looking at tourism as well as also the industry key players from the mining sector. Avante Mines is interested in a booth. And the LNG, we're looking to get the BC Alliance LNG to have a booth as well. NDIT, basically anybody that can help with small to medium business and how to be ready. So those booths are available, and you can contact the Prince Rupert and Port Edward Economic Development Office through email or telephone, and they are $800 for a booth, and it's for both days, and that'll get you an 8x6 booth at the conference. And that's it. Go ahead, John.
Thank you very much. And I would say, if you want to find out more about it, I would just Google 2015 Northwest Growth Conference, and it'll get you to the Hecate Strait site. And the time is ticking, but if you want an early bird registration, you've got until February 14th. So I'd hit the website pretty hard pretty soon. So thank you very much, Mayor and Council, for your time, and we hope to see you there. And that's really it. I want to thank you for your sponsorship as a platinum sponsor for the conference. We really appreciate that, and we look forward to seeing you there. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, next up, 4B, we have a presentation from Ms. Sheila Gordon-Payne from the Health Services Administrator from Northern Health regarding the Healthy Communities Integration Committee.
Thank you, Your Worship. Jane is just handing out a package to each of you, and in that package you'll find Jane has her Healthy Activities t-shirt on, as do I, and as will all of you out and about in community, I hope, at some point, because that's the first thing in your package. The second thing in your package tonight is our PowerPoint for tonight, just so that if you have any notes or questions, you can keep track of them there. And then Jane later will talk about some of our seniors' work, and we have the little mail-out card that the seniors group mailed out. And lastly, there is a feedback sheet, which I've put on top, because really we're here to talk to you about one topic that Northern Health might present on tonight. There are many, including things like the resource development you've just heard about from John Farrell and Paul. So if you take a look and think about, okay, we need to hear more about this, put what priority you think it is, and then tell us how you'd like to get that information. We're here to serve you as your community health providers. So tonight's topic, and I was thinking, oh geez, now we're following John, who's way more exciting to listen to than perhaps what we're going to talk to you about. But really what John's talking about and the things that may or may not happen have an impact on the health of our community for all of us. And so it's important that we are all working together and working in a coordinated way so that we absolutely maximize everything our community can become for the health of our whole community. And one of the things that we do to maximize that is have a Healthy Communities Integration Committee. And now, because I'm not techie, I'm going to make sure we get this in. And I should introduce, I'm sorry, I'm assuming that all of you know me, but you may not. I am the Health Service Administrator, as Mayor Brain has said, for Northern Health. And with me tonight is Jane Boutet, who is our Manager of Public Health in our community. And I'm just going to, Jane, I'm going to shift over and then you shift over. That'll help. That'll help the microphone. Okay. So you'll see you have the same presentation as we're showing on the screen, and you can go to the next slide right away, Jane. So, whoops. With our Healthy Communities Integration Committee, our main goal is to have an impact on the health of our whole population, so population health. And everything we do looks at the data of our community as a whole and how we can impact that. And you may hear different terms such as upstream work or primary health care work. That is all part of a population health approach. What we do recognize is that we do have many chronic diseases and other conditions in our community, and that using that approach will help us address those. We have a reputation in the north for innovation, and you'll see that up there that is important. And we also have a reputation in the north for working together. And certainly you see that in everything our community talks about and the projects we are trying to take on.
So you'll see, or you may have heard some years ago, it was, I believe, Sheila, about 2011, that Northern Health first developed a strategic approach to working with communities on what they called healthy community work broadly. And really that approach was designed to be strategic, targeting what Sheila referred to as upstream activities. So those things that we could do to prevent people from landing in our emergency departments, for example, in trouble. What could we do to keep people healthy, keep them well, keep them in their homes longer, and ultimately prevent the need for use of acute care services down the road. So really, Northern Health Talk has developed an approach that looks at accomplishing that work by enhancing active and purposeful relationships between Northern Health and a network of partners, which would include municipal governments such as yourselves, community organizations, and health services. Acknowledging that many of these services already exist in community, they're thriving, and how can we partner and work with our communities around things that are already happening. So as I mentioned, it was back in May of 2011 that the province announced an initiative around provincial healthy communities work. And they identified 4 strategic areas of focus, including healthy lifestyles, a healthy start, so the early years for pregnant and parenting families, healthy eating, and healthy communities. And healthy communities really, I mentioned this earlier, but it was developed for a number of reasons. Sheila referred to chronic diseases. Right now, about 80% of British Columbians report to have at least one or more risk factors for chronic disease, including smoking, physical inactivity, eating an unhealthy diet, or being overweight or obese. We know that in the north, our risk factors are, relative to the rest of the province, are even higher. The second reason was that we really acknowledged that addressing those chronic risk factors was the responsibility of multiple sectors and can't be achieved by one sector alone or a health authority working in a silo. We also acknowledge that health is closely linked to the social and physical environments of the communities where people live, where they work, where they play. And that local governments really do play a pivotal role in developing health-promoting environments that can address many of the common risk factors that cause chronic disease, injury, and obesity. So the goal for our healthy communities work and partnering for healthy communities is really to increase healthy community action to reduce the incidence of chronic disease, injury, obesity, through effective partnerships between local governments, health authorities, and other key stakeholders in Prince Rupert and our surrounding communities. So you'll see on your slide here a photo of our local Healthy Community Integration Committee. You may hear that term, our HCIC. It was developed here in Prince Rupert to reduce the health inequities that exist across the north. We recognize that we really need to work together to be more effective in building a healthier Prince Rupert and surrounding community. And you'll see around the table a number, you might recognize some faces there, but a number of local stakeholders who've been at the table with us now for a number of years.
Thanks, Jane. So our back to around the table, if you're wondering who else is on the committee besides the fact that we've asked council to appoint someone, and thank you to Councillor Cunningham for being our new member. We have Mayor Dave McDonald. You may have noticed in the picture, and these are all, there are more, but I'll just list a few. We have the RCMP, we have Transition House, we have Ministry of Children and Families at the table. We have a representative from Lac Willam's at the table, one of the health representatives. We have School District 52. We have the Métis Association and school. Yeah. So it is a really strong table of leaders and the opportunities of what we can do there when we gather. You really start to understand that you've got some players there that can make things happen. So just that gives you a little more background there. And with that kind of cooperation and collaboration. Our aim is communication, partnerships, building capacity, and developing tools and resources. I forgot my glasses. Sorry. There you go. Now you'll know why I'm straining. So that is all part of that. Again, we put this slide in. You'll see that those aren't Prince Rupert community members in that slide. Those are actually Smithers community members, with the mayor of Smithers in the picture, as well as my counterpart there, Cormac Kickish, in the center. And they did a biking project as one of their first projects. And you'll hear what we've started as our first projects. Our focus has been for youth at risk and seniors, which Jane will talk about in a moment. Those were the two areas that, as we first gathered together and dug into the data, whether we looked at depression, whether we looked at the chronic diseases, we thought those were the two groups we wanted to make an impact on locally. So Jane will get to that in a moment. The co-chair at this point, and I'm not sure if Councillor Cunningham is aware, but he will be the co-chair, unless he decides he would prefer to be a regular member. Mayor McDonald chose not to be co-chair, but has served as a member. I definitely need a co-chair, so I'm hoping you're up for that, Councillor Cunningham. And then I heard Councillor Thorkelson will be the alternate, so that's great.
So as Sheila mentioned, our Local Healthy Communities Integration Committee in Prince Rupert chose two areas of focus initially. And the first was youth at risk. We looked through a lot of community data, and there was consensus around the table that if we didn't start with our young people, where would we be looking at our future? So in 2012, the committee selected this as an area of focus and identified the primary objectives to include identifying priorities for youth. So what were the significant issues for youth in Prince Rupert? From there, identifying opportunities for action, and then establishing community partnerships and coalitions to support action around those areas. So the identified priorities for the Youth at Risk working group were pregnancy and alcohol and addiction. And we did sift through a lot of community-wide information and actually developed a template a spreadsheet of local programs and services currently working with youth, and an establishment of some gaps in services or potential ideas for action within those areas. And to date, we've secured grant funding for 2015 for project work of over $15,000. And we've been working closely with School District 52 and the RCMP with youth representation around action for that grant. And you should hear some community announcements coming out in the near future. So we're very excited about that. As Sheila mentioned, we had two areas of focus. So the next was seniors. So it was interesting. The committee first chose youth and then thought, well, what's the counterpart to that? And has even talked quite a bit about the synergy between partnerships with youth and seniors. So the primary area of focus for the seniors working group was really to support seniors' independence in the community and to look at what can be done to support seniors to be independent in their homes for as long as possible. And so initiatives to date from the seniors working group have included a healthy community workshop looking at how local policy planning and leadership can impact health outcomes for seniors. You may recall in 2014 they held the first annual Seniors Wellness Forum in Prince Rupert, and that was spearheaded by this working group. And that was done in partnership with the Seniors Center. And topics included issues on mental wellness, hearing, home safety, and health screening for health risk factors for seniors. And almost 100 community members attended this event held at the Seniors Center, so it was a sold-out event. This committee also put out a mail out of over 4,000 cards to homes in and around Prince Rupert
which is part of the package.
Yeah, you'll see an example of that card handed out to you. Advertising support's available through Home Support in Prince Rupert, because one of the issues identified was we do have quite a few services available for seniors, but people aren't always aware of what's available to them. So this was one initiative aimed to address that. This committee has also secured grants of over $5,000 to support their focus. And in 2015, they are developing an intergenerational art project and a second annual wellness forum. So you should hear more information about a wellness forum coming this spring. The other, so through our committee, the Healthy Communities Integration Committee, we've also been able to work with Northern Health to secure grant funding to support project work outside of the subcommittees of the seniors and youth working groups. And last year, in the fall of last year, we secured seed grant funding of $15,000 to administer small seed grants in the community of up to $3,000 each to fund local initiatives. So you may have seen some posters around town advertised around Prince Rupert through posters, through the newspaper and print media. And the Northern Health blog, if any of you haven't checked that out, I'd encourage you to take a look there as well. But we put out a call for proposals and encouraged community groups to look at our target populations of seniors and youth, and encourage them to come to the table with ideas or perhaps projects that they had ideas for and not the funding to complete or to get off the ground. And to date, we've completed phase 1, so we've received 4 expressions of interest from the community, and we're into phase 2 now, where the call has gone out for a work plan submission, and we do expect to be making some announcements in the near future about successful grant applicants for community groups in Prince Rupert who've come to our committee now looking for support and help. So very exciting.
Just leave it there for a second, Jane. And just to give you a little bit more information on why some of this takes time to move the projects forward, is that it's really important for us as Northern Health and our role in healthy communities in this work. When I talk about it being collaborative, we really do want it to be led from community as well. So we could sit in our offices and think of all these things that we could do in our community, and it won't be sustainable and won't actually get the participation we're looking for. So things like the small card that went out, the reason we sent a card out was because the small seniors working group with seniors on it and different stakeholders in community, that's what they wanted to try. They weren't sure how successful it would be, but they thought it was important to try. And so that's what we did. The other thing is the Seniors Wellness Forum, which was held at the Seniors Center, was a packed house with over 90 people. There wasn't any room left to get anyone in. So that's a fabulous thing that again came from the group, got full community involvement, and they'll do it again this year. So some of our work is slow because better to go slow to go fast, right? So that's how we're doing this work. So thanks, Jane. And so the last slide is, and I want you to know, as you look at this slide in the picture, neither I nor Mayor Brain are actually this wide. That is my placement of the photo as I was fitting it on the slide. On my own copy, we're both much slimmer.
Although that's accurate now after Christmas time, so.
I don't, look at,
For me, anyway.
Both Jane and I, we even made sure we went and did our workouts today before we came. So. At any rate, I just certainly, and these T-shirts are part of the Western Canada Games initiative, where we're also trying to promote, Northern Health is promoting with the games for people to get active and healthy and have the games leave a legacy. So those are the T-shirts that you got in your package. When it talks about that there are 20 healthier committees across the north, our committee here in Prince Rupert isn't unique. What I do want you to know is it was one of the first. We were one of the first communities that said with their local governments, yes, we want to do this. We can gather the right team around the table. And actually, former Mayor Musalem presented at the NCLGA conference at the time on what we were doing in our community. So we're not unique, but we are always somewhat special here. We do have on our, as I say, on our committee, it is dedicated. It does also represent Port Edward. You'll see our coastal communities are also there simply because so many of our coastal communities have members that go back and forth to our larger urban communities. We do hope for tonight, our goal was to get participation from you, which we have now through Councillor Cunningham. We also want to get you thinking about how we can work together as a team, and even with the grants, if you have grant people that are coming to you for grants and now you know it fits within our mandate, you want to send them in our direction, because if you did the math on even our small $15,000, we didn't get enough applications. So there are some, if people are looking, if we're all working together, we should all be able to help people find some money without it always coming from your group. So that was just the last point. So I thank you all for your time tonight. This is only one subject that we could talk to you about. So I hope you do fill in the feedback sheets, and I can come drop them up or someone can scan them to us. And if you have any questions this evening, we're happy to take them.
Councillor Kinney?
Thank you, Mayor Lee. Thank you both very much for your presentation. It was very informative. I just wanted to ask a question, Sheila. Have you sent a letter to the Community Enrichment Society, to Sherry Beal, our CEO? Because I'm sure they'd love to be involved in that committee, because they do a lot of work with people.
Go, Jane.
I believe they were invited initially when our committee was first established. We put a call out for interest, but we can absolutely extend that invitation again, and to say it's not a closed committee. If there are community groups or agencies that feel they could have contributions to make, by all means, please do get in touch with myself or Sheila.
And actually, Councillor Kinney, I think that when we did the invitation, it would have been prior to Ms. Beal's in the role. So, and the other thing I would just want to say, when Jane has said anyone could participate, we won't always put people at the big table, but we will always have working group work for them to do. So if it's someone that comes to us and will, you know, what I've said as people approach me, if we already have representation on our larger committee, I'll ask them what they're interested in. If they're interested in something to do with youth, if they're interested in something to do with seniors, we'll find a way to engage them in what we're working on.
Councillor Cunningham?
Thank you very much. I'm looking forward to working with you. And I said in the first meeting at the seniors, getting the wellness forum together, and their main concern is they wouldn't have enough room for everyone, which is kind of nice to see in this community, that so many people are involved and so many people are also interested in the program. So thank you.
Any other questions? Well, thank you very much, you guys, and thank you so much for your hard work and all the grants that you gave out earlier this year and everything you guys been doing. And I'm definitely going to be coordinating with Councillor Cunningham and myself. I'd love to be involved in some way as well. So definitely be keeping in touch, and thanks for coming today.
You're quite welcome. And just one last point on the small seed grants. It was the first time that ministry, as they've given us grants to use for different purposes, and for us it's the Ministry of Health, it was the first time ministry said, look, we're not going to tell you what to do with this money. Ask your community what to do with this money. And so it's really showing how governments are starting to understand that to make an impact, go to the grassroots and you'll do the right work.
Great, thank you very much. Okay, I'd like to move on to 4C. If there's any members of the public here present today that'd like to comment on the transit fare increases, they can come forward now. Hello, Mr. Justice.
Mr. Mayor, Council.
And just press the green button there on that mic. Right on the front part here, right here. Yeah, the green button. Right on the very front of it. Right here. Right at the bottom. There you go.
Oh, that's a button. Oh, okay, sorry about that.
It's okay.
Yeah, I'm representing the Prince Rupert Environmental Society.
Oh, just to interrupt, just sorry for a moment. Can you state your name and spell your
Charles
name for the and spell it out for the corporate
Charles,
administration?
Charles Justice.
Is that? Oh, and the address as well? Oh, and your address too. Sorry.
1332 8th Avenue East.
Thank you.
Okay, and I was kind of interested in what I heard Sheila talking about because basically I would say that's what I'm looking at too, is the health of the community. And a healthy community is one where people are active and people are using transit. And the more people use transit, the more they'll be walking, the less they'll be using the cars, and the better our global warming, our carbon dioxide output will be. But when I'm thinking about this, like, our goal should be a healthy community. So we should be thinking that whatever we do with transit, it should be towards a goal, not just thinking about like a budget. Because if like the last time the fares were increased, we had a drop in ridership. What really we should be looking at is getting more people to use the transit, not less. So we should be decreasing the fare. That's what I think. I mean, and I think the Environmental Society behind me on this. That would give a message to people, to use the transit more. I think the city should start looking at encouraging pedestrian traffic, transit, ways that people can become more active, and that would make a big difference in how healthy people were. It would be good for the medical system or the health of people, physical health and mental health too. And I'll just say, that's pretty much all I wanted to say about this, but I intend to start a walking initiative for Prince Rupert. I think the best way to improve the community's health is to have more people walking, because activity is really the basis for a lot of why people are getting heart disease and diabetes, things like that. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Justice. We'll definitely take that into consideration. Is there anybody else from the public that would like to come and speak on the issue? Okay, I'll just get you to turn the mic off. Thank you very much. Okay, moving on to 6A. A report from the city planner regarding the development variation permit for 1307 Emmanuel Street. Hello, Mr. Cricket.
I was kind of panicking from behind that my PowerPoint is not on, but it is. So generally, I avoid using PowerPoints, Mr. Mayor, for projects that relate to land use, land development, because maps usually lose in presentation and clarity by the time they go from PDF to PowerPoint. But you saw the same report last time at the last council meeting, so I'm going to experiment with the PowerPoint and listen to your opinion.
You can go Shift F5.
Shift. I'm just going to proceed. How come I can't get to to open up the PowerPoint? I can do it this with the old-fashioned way. Thank you. And that's another reason I don't use PowerPoints, because unless they're set up, they're kind of difficult. Anyways, So the title of this report, and I'm following the report outline in this PowerPoint, is Application for Development Variance Permit at 1307 Emmanuel Street. It's a DP 1501, therefore it's a first development variance permit of this year. The reason for the report is that we received the application on December 15, 2014. Application was presented to the council on January 12th. Council approved public notification, and we distribute notifications within 24 hours of receiving the resolution. The sum total of responses is 1 telephone inquiry, which was about information and with no consequences to the application outcome. Brief background, the subject property is located at the edge of community development footprint. So it's right at the bottom of Manuel Street, intersection in Jamaica. Brief background, the owner proposes to build an addition to the existing garage. This is the existing building. The existing garage is connected to the primary residence, and this is the outline of the proposed garage. The proposed construction requires a variance to the rear property line setback, section 5.2.4b of the zoning bylaw, from 3 meters to 0.3 meters, or 1 foot. In conclusion, the reason for this variance, the result of this variance will not adversely affect the viewscape of the street, nor unreasonably influence neighboring properties. We did not receive any objections that would prevent approval. And that's supporting the recommendation. The development variance permit application number DP 1501 for 1307 Emmanuel Street be approved.
Great. So recommendation that the development variance permit application number DP 1501 for 1307 Manuel Street be granted. Moved. Seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor? Motion carried. Thank you very much, Mr. Kreckett. Okay, 6B, report from the corporate administrator regarding the City of Prince Rupert SQCRD voting rights.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The reason for the report is the Deputy Corporate Officer for the Squeena Queen Charlotte Regional District made contact with myself and had identified that while only 2 members of council for the City of Prince Rupert sit on the Board of Directors, in total they represent a voting strength of 7 votes for any matter voted on at the board level. Due to this uneven number, the total number of votes attributed to either of the 2 participating members of council on the Regional District Board must be divided amongst them so that the total number equals 7, and we can't have a half vote.
Okay, Councillor Kinney, your recommendation here?
My recommendation, Mayor Lee, is that the mayor have the 4 votes and I take the 3 votes.
Okay. Anyone consider moving that motion?
Well, I just wanted to comment. I rather like the way the Skeena Regional District had it to settle an arm wrestle. I'll second.
Okay, moved and seconded. Any discussion?
I have a question.
Yeah.
It says it is not practical for each board member to cast half a vote. Does that mean it is not practical in that it is not allowed, or is not practical in somebody's opinion? Because a half a vote is a half vote.
Mr. Mandrick?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, through your worship, a half vote is not allowed, so it has to be a full vote.
Thank you.
Okay, so it's not just not practical, it's not. That's fine, thank you.
Okay, any further questions? All those in favor? Okay, motion carried. Next item of business. 6C, report from the corporate administrator regarding rescheduling regular meeting of council. Mr. Mandrick?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The original schedule sent out for council's regular meetings was sent out with February 9th being the regular meeting of council. That being the second BC Family Day statutory holiday, we need to move the regular meeting of council to Tuesday, February the 10th.
Okay, so there's a recommendation that council move the regular meeting of council schedule on Monday, February 9th, 2015 to Tuesday, February 10th, 2015 at 7 p.m. Moved? Seconded? Any questions? Okay, all those in favor? Motion carried. Item 6D, a report from the building inspector regarding fire damage dwelling at 431 7th Avenue West. Mr. Mandrick, are you presenting this?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, I will present. So the letters were sent out to the registered owners, and one of them being the CIBC Mortgage Incorporated entity, and they have requested that they be extended a 30-day option to review to find out if that building is salvageable, which of course, if it is worthwhile, they will go forward and refurbish it. If, however, it's deemed not to be, then they'll just recommend it being teared down. And just as a secondary note, some of the issues such as the rat infestation is being dealt with during that time. So that's not being omitted just because of this 30-day extension.
Okay. So there's a recommendation that Mayor and Council grant CIBC Mortgages Inc. having a registered mortgage on title of the house located at 431 7th Avenue West in the City of Prince Rupert a 30-day extension to the demolition date. Moved. Seconded. Any questions? All those in favor? Motion carried. Okay, moving on to item 8A. An email from Leanne Enns, Executive Director of the Prince Rupert and District Chamber of Commerce, received January 8th, 2015 regarding a proclamation request. And the request states, moving on. The request is essentially stating that the week of February 16th to 20th, 2015, be known as the Chamber of Commerce Week, and the request is that myself, the mayor, proclaim it as such. So I would recommend a motion to approve the proclamation. Moved, seconded. Any questions? Okay, all those in favor? Motion carried. Okay, 8B. A letter from Inspector Wayne Morgan. Is that how you say his last name? Mon. Detachment Commander, Prince Rupert RCMP, dated January 11th, 2015, regarding a letter requesting financial support for their annual Guns and Hoses charity hockey game fundraising event. And so they're looking for support on February 7th, 2015 from 7:30 to 10:30 p.m. Asking for financial assistance regarding regarding us allocating them ice time, basically. So what I'll do is I'll move this quickly into discussion before we move a motion on the floor. Councilor Cunningham?
I think we should pass this motion because the money that's coming from the funds of the game are going to Everyone Gets to Play, which is a very good program at the recreation center where kids that can't afford to get into programs and that get to participate because of this fund. And I think it's very worthwhile. So the money we're losing from the actual rental, we're gaining 3- or 4-fold with the donation.
I absolutely agree. Any other comments? Okay, then I have a recommendation to move the letter of support. Okay, moved, seconded. Any questions? Okay, all those in favor? Motion carried. Okay, moving on to item 10A, a report from the corporate administrator regarding the road closure and removal of highway dedication bylaw number 3357 2014. Mr. Mandrick?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is the, we have had first, second, and third reading in the last council meeting, and this is for the adoption of the road closure and removal of the highway dedication, bylaw number 3357, 2014. This was the reason for the report, and the reason for doing this is Musgrave Management Limited, the owner of Rainbow Chrysler Dodge Jeep, located at 1105 Chamberlain Avenue, directly west of the unused road allowance known as McCutcheon Avenue, proposed to purchase part of the unused road allowance. This was accepted by council conditionally for up to 50% of the unused road allowance. And in order to meet that requirement, we went through the process of having to do a road closure bylaw, and this is the adoption of that bylaw.
Okay, so recommendation that council adopt the road closure and removal of highway dedication bylaw number 3357 2014. Moved, seconded. Any comments or questions? Okay, all those in favor? Any opposed? Okay, motion carried. Okay, last item on our agenda. Item 10B, report from the Chief Financial Officer regarding the fees and charges amendment and Prince Rupert fee setting amendment by law number 3361 2015. Did you want to speak to that, Ms. Bombin?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. On January 12th, at the regular council meeting, BC Transit presented a comparison of fares in Prince Rupert as compared to the BC Transit Guide. At that time, council instructed staff to bring forth a budget bylaw amendment for the fees and charges for transit. We've done just that. I put on the Exhibit A, which would be page 40 in your package, that the effective date would be July 1st. I subsequently spoke to BC Transit, and they're requesting May 1st instead to correspond with their guide, which also includes the route changes. This way it would just be one printing and one piece of information for any user. That way they'd have one guide, and then there would be no other changes that they would have to have at their house, just one guide for the entire year. So that is the only change that I'm requesting at the moment. And the rates are exactly as were presented in one of the options that the BC Transit representative had presented. Thank you.
Okay, so I will read the recommendation out. That council amend the 2010 5-year financial plan fees and charges amendment and Prince Rupert fee setting amendment bylaw number 3295 2010 by replacing Schedule D entitled Schedule T City of Prince Rupert Transit bus tariffs, fees, and charges with the attached Exhibit A entitled Schedule T City of Prince Rupert Transit bus tariffs, fees, and charges, and that having made those changes, council give first, second, and third readings to the Prince Rupert fee setting amendment bylaw number 3361 2015. So can I get a motion? Moved. So any seconders? Seconded. Okay, motion's on the floor. We'll enter into discussion. I'll start off the discussion for a moment. I've spent a lot of time reviewing this particular concern. I've talked to people in the community. We heard from Prince Rupert Environmental Society tonight. My analysis has basically resulted in me seeing that the new charges are much simpler looking in terms of the payments. They're all even numbers, and it's a nicer feeling look to it. On the other end, we are increasing fees for transit, and we are, in my opinion, that we're in the business of ensuring that people actually use transit. And so my fear is that us doing this, that we're going to perhaps take a step backwards by increasing fees, although they are more simplified in terms of, $2 is $2. But I am in the opinion that so far what I'd like to see is increased ridership. And so I'd like to open this up to all of us and and we can have a good discussion about this before we move forward on it. So Councillor Cunningham, then Councillor Kinney.
I have some concerns. My first question is, if we don't increase the fees, does this cost the city anything?
Ms. Baumann, is there any sort of setback for us financially, or is there any, to Mr. Cunningham's question?
As with all fees and charges, if the fees do not keep pace with what they were a few years ago, the costs eventually will outpace any of the increase or non-increase. And as represented in the report, you can see that in 2011, the city taxpayers subsidized transit by $307,000, and in 2014 that had climbed up to $369,000. So there is a cost. It's a cost to the taxpayers. It's not necessarily a direct cost to the user, but there is a cost to the city eventually.
And sorry, continue, Councillor Cunningham.
I'm concerned about two things. One, your concern, fear of losing riderage, and the other is a drastic jump in the seniors. I've talked to some seniors and they didn't seem to be overly concerned about it, the ones I talked to, but I didn't get to talk to the wide variety of them. And at the presentation, we were told that there wasn't a lot of senior passes. Can Mrs. Bombin expound on that?
I can tell you that in 2014 there was 316 seniors passes that were given out.
316, did you say?
That's a pretty significant number for the seniors, and the fact it's going up so drastically for the seniors is just a little bit of a concern for me because they're on a fixed income.
Ms. Baumann?
I'd like to mention that the bylaw rates don't have to go as one full swoop. You can adjust, you can amend them if you'd like.
Okay, Councillor Kinney?
Thank you, Mayor I also agree with Councillor Cunningham because I am a senior and I know that their incomes are, limited. And never mind. And then anyway, I think $45 is a little much for seniors.
Your worship?
Yes, Councillor Thorkelson. Just right after Councillor Niche.
Sure, no problem.
My opinion on just like most things about the city is we have to move more towards a user paid system. As a homeowner, sometimes more than one, I feel that passing the costs on to just people that own homes is not necessarily the right way to go. And as a previous bus driver, I'll speak at this again. Most people that are in need, whether they are disabled or whatever reason they need to, they can usually apply for some way to get a pass. Most people that use the bus regularly, they have passes. What I got out of the BC Transit person was more the people that are the less user. They don't use it as much, so they walk on the bus maybe once in a while. They have to throw a toonie in there to go. The pass rates really haven't gone up a lot, other than the seniors one. And my view on that, I had one person tell me, they said basically they run down to City Hall January 1st to get their seniors pass because it's a joke, because they pay $12. If you look at it, it's $1 a month. And if you look at the proposed rate increase, it's $3.75 a month. As much as I normally wouldn't agree with a huge drastic increase, if you look at it percentage wise, I really do feel that $3.75 a month is still a pretty affordable option for somebody to go downtown. And the other thing is like I say, most people have passes that do travel, and the passes that are $12 a year were $12 a year 10 years ago when I drove bus. So unfortunately, we're already subsidizing the transit system by around 70%, and I do feel that it costs us money, and we have to find this money somewhere. And as much as I would hate to raise a senior's 300% or whatever it is, I don't think $3.75 a month is that much.
Councillor Thorkelson?
I just note that the monthly passes for adults would remain at 48. The seniors would go up, and and I'm not sure the semester times 4 is not even going up at all. If I figure semester times 4 is I take the 34, that is down here, the transit rate increases. So the monthly passes for me are really not an issue. But what for me is the issue is the day rate, and I disagree wholeheartedly, as I expressed last time, that we really should not be increasing just for the sake of other communities have the same rates, or that it's easy for the bus drivers. I don't think the bus drivers that are driving in town are need things to be easy. I think we have competent bus drivers, and but I just want to put this to you: a mother with 2 kids right now, it's $6 to go downtown. If we have and so that's $12 returned. That's what the new rates will be. At $12 return, it'll go up by 50 cents per child one way, which is $1 increase if you have 2 children, and 50 cents for the adult. So it's or 25 cents for the adult. Sorry, so it's $1.25 one way. It is $2.50 both ways for a mother and for a father and 2 children. And so at presently they pay $9.50, and it'll go up to $12. Now I would be willing to work with other people on council in a campaign to try to accomplish what Mr. Justice was proposing, that we have a campaign to try to get people to use transit more often. And I think that would be a campaign if people try to use transit once a week, try to use transit twice a week, and try to divorce people from their cars and start using transit. We have a great transit system, and we should try to increase our income by increasing riderage, not by increasing fees. That's my 2 cents worth.
Okay. I'd like to hear Councillor Cunningham.
I just want to point out to Councillor Neese here that a lot of those seniors also own houses and pay taxes too. You know, it's not that they're just taking advantage of a pass. The majority of seniors in this town do own their houses, and they're staying in their houses because it's a housing problem too. They got no place to move to. And I just think that I agree with Councillor Thorkelson. I would rather see some program that we could initiate that would increase riderage, maybe with counseling from Councillor Neese, because he has been a bus driver in that. We can look at changing times or routes, because I know the one reason I don't take the bus to the Coast Guard base is because I start work at 7 o'clock in the morning and the bus doesn't get there to 7:15. You know, just little adjustments. I don't know the bus system that well, but I think we have somebody on council that knows it quite well, and with him working with us in a program, it might be very advantageous.
So Councillor Redhawa, then Councillor Kinney.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. To make it simplified, I don't like this idea. So next range would be 3 bucks then, right? To make it simplified. And also, I'm not in favor of increasing for students and seniors. So I don't like this idea.
Okay, Councillor Kinney, and then Councillor Niche.
Thank you, Marilyn. No, I agree, because sure, it's only $3 and something, Councillor Nish, but there's been raises in the recreation, in everything, and seniors' pensions do not rise.
Councillor Niche.
Like I had said before, I believe that most people that use transit on a regular basis are pass holders, and I do think that the $2 proposal is more for the people that just use the transit system on a once in a time basis. I do think that it does sound like a lot when you look at percentage for raising the seniors rate, but you also have to look at it. The seniors in all other communities we are one of the only communities that does offer this seniors pass. So most communities offer a seniors pass, which is able to be used transit wide, like across the province. So if we went with that sort of system, then you know, they would be able to use those passes in other communities also. But I just look at it as it's been $12 for years and years and years and years, and our costs keep going up and up and up. So at some point we have to recover the cost, and I would rather you know, raise that and give them basically a year to adapt to that change, because if they've bought their pass already for the year, they're good for the year 2015. They can now adjust their schedule or their finances for next year to be able to afford a $45 pass.
Is there any other comments? Councillor Cunningham?
On Councillor Neese's comment there, so this doesn't come into effect till when, July 1st?
May 1st.
May 1st? So with that being said, if people are buying passes, they buy them for the year. So if they buy the passes before May 1st, they get it at the old rate.
Correct.
Okay. I could probably live with that, because it does, in that case, as long as the word gets out, and most people will probably have their passes by then, it's not that bad of an idea. And I don't know of any programs where if it is a hardship for a senior or a handicapped person, that they can get assistance if they can't afford that pass. That's something I'd like to know about.
Okay. Further comments? Councillor Bradhawa?
Yeah, like if it is in effect next year, I rather like to make it like 24 instead of 45. So as she said, she can change, we can change it instead of like 45. I rather like to go 24, double, not like 3 times.
Okay. Other comments?
Well, I have one last comment. That is somebody who was making $10 an hour. They got a raise increase to $10.50 an hour for minimum wage. If you want to have a look at somebody who's working minimum wage and now having to pay $4 a day to go up and downtown, if they're making $10 or $10.50 an hour, you have taken a fair chunk of their wages, and maybe $1 a day doesn't sound very much or 50 cents a day doesn't sound very much to somebody whose wages are, at decent trade union levels. But if you're working at a minimum wage job, any kind of increase is an increase too much, because we're not keeping the lower income people are the people who are riding the buses, and certainly some people are able to get social services passes. They're not giving out passes the same way as they used to, and those people who are working at $10 an hour minimum wage jobs are going to have a great deal of difficulty fitting any kind of increase into their budget.
Councillor Niche?
I just want to stress again that most people that use transit on a regular basis are pass holders. I've seen it firsthand. The amount of passes that people have is a great amount. If someone was to walk on the bus because they just wanted to go for a bus ride, they're going to throw the toonie in there and pay for it. But people that use the transit system on a regular basis are pass holders, and I feel that the rates really haven't increased that much on pass holders, and most people that use it regularly are pass holders.
Well, then I don't know what we're arguing about, because monthly passes remain the same for adults. They've only gone up for seniors, and actually for the semester times 4, they've gone up 25, whatever a semester is, it's gone up only honestly don't know what semester times 4 means, but I assume that it means you pay that 4 times a year. I'm not really quite sure what that means. Maybe somebody could explain that. And the other thing is there's no, there's a new category called tickets, and I really don't know what that one is.
Ms. Baumann?
There always was a ticket. On the previous one, if you look at page 41, it says bulk ticket pricing, 10 for the price of 9. So now all that we've done is we've just separated it, so it makes it a little bit easier for people to understand. And the semester times 4 is that amount times 4, because one semester is typically 4 months. And if you look at the previous schedule, it says that the semester was $135. Now 34 times 4 is 136. It's an increase of $1.
Yeah, that's what I thought. So anyway, so there's a $1 increase for on the monthly pass for a semester holder. For the seniors for a monthly pass, there's a $2.50 a month increase, and there's no monthly passes for an increase for adults, although there is for students. So the monthly passes, I could probably live with those, especially since the seniors' annual passes remains at 45 or is at $45 for a year. But I really object to the increase in cash fares, and if Councillor Niche is correct, then there is very, very little in the way of extra revenue from the cash fares. So I don't understand what the drive would be to put them up to $2 from $1.75 if hardly anybody ever goes with the daily or the cash fare per trip.
Further comments? Councillor Niche?
I think the idea behind it is that, I mean, it's just like the world has turned into more using debit cards and simpler ways of doing things. When you made your comments earlier about you don't think there's bus drivers can basically you're defending the bus driver, saying that there's you don't think they're that I can't remember how you worded it, but it's stupid that they can't count the money, sort of thing. I don't think that that's the idea. What the BC Transit is trying to say, I think that they're more looking at as a cash system is costing people money. Now that means, I mean, I know we have a bylaw officer who has to deal with that money. In fact, I watched him wheel it down the street today. This is something that has to get dealt with. If we have a more streamlined system, then it's going to cost us less money. If we have to have somebody sitting there counting quarters all the time, it's more about the world pushing people away from using cash. So if they want to use cash and go on the bus, then I think the idea is that they're going to pay to use cash. And there again, most people that use it or quite often are pass holders.
Further discussion? Okay, so this is obviously a difficult decision for all of us to make. And so it seems that right now the debate then is between passes and day fares. And so...
Senior pass.
And the seniors pass, yeah.
My recommendation from $12 to $24, not $45.
Right. So I'm wondering if we can maybe... refer this one to staff to get us a little bit more clarity around some of the numbers.
Okay, I think what you need to do, you've got a proposal in front of you. If someone wants to amend it, it sounds like someone does, they get a seconder, you amend what's proposed. If the amendment passes, then move on to the bylaw.
Sure, okay.
So start with what's on the page as proposed, and then if you want to amend it away from that, then vote on those amendments if they're seconders, and then when you're finished the amending, then you've got what's left of the bylaw, and then you can pass the bylaw.
Right, okay. Councillor Kinney?
If that's the case, Mayor Lee, I recommend we go with what staff has prepared with the amendment of instead of $45 for seniors, be $24.
Okay. Okay, seconded. Okay. So we have a motion on the floor with an amendment to amend the seniors pass to $24 a month rather than 45. Any further discussion on that? Councillor Niche?
The only one thing against it is probably if we have to print up, spend money and print up brochures on this, and we chose to raise it again next year, that this is going to cost the city money to print these brochures twice. Anytime you change something, it's going to cost us money. So I think we need to think about this, that if this is something, we don't want to be talking about this again next year and the year after and the year after, because every time we do that, it costs us money. I think we need to think about this, and if we do want to do it, maybe we can make it so that it's first year we could say it's $24, and next year it'll be, say 45. But we print that on the brochure so that it's not something that we have to spend money reprinting a brochure in 1 more year from now. So if we want to do this, let's do it in 2 increments, but let's print it both on the document at the same time so that we're not spending more money next year trying to fix this again.
Councillor Cunningham?
Is this time sensitive, Bob?
Mr. Mayor? Ms. Bauman?
I'll answer your question, Councillor. First off, yes, there is a time constraint on this one. BC Transit is going to be doing their printing for the fare guides and the route guides, which is all in one, and they have a deadline of February 1st. The next thing is actually, Councillor Niche, every year they do a printout, so there will be another print next year, which will say that this is the routes and rates for 2016. So even if we don't actually do an escalator within the bylaw right now, it could be considered later on, and it would still be picked up for next year.
Okay. Councillor Bradhala?
Yeah, my recommendation was keep the $24 for senior until the life of the contract, not every year change.
Okay. I'm just thinking out loud here because I'm also concerned a little bit, and I'm looking at the cash fare, and I'm fine with a $2 adult, but I would like to keep the senior and student at $150 at the same rate that as it is now. I think that students take the bus the majority of the time. They're taking the school special every day. That being said, too, with the ticket prices for senior and student, I'd like that to be returned back to its normal state from this previous, how it works out before, which I think it's the 10 for the price of 9 type of thing. And I'm fine with the monthly passes. And then for the day passes for senior and student, I'd also like that to stay the same. And so my recommendation here for the amendment, so we have an amendment on the floor, which is $24 for the seniors. So I'd like to add an additional amendment to that motion on the floor that's been amended, which would be the senior and student day pass stay the same rate at $3.76. That the monthly passes stay what are being recommended. That the tickets for the senior and students work out to be how it was previously, the 10 for the price of 9. So that's kind of equals out. And that the cash fare for the senior and student be $1.50. And that's how I think that the adults, if you can't have a toonie to take the bus, then there's obviously a bigger problem there, and I understand that. But I think we need to be encouraging young people to be taking transit. And I think that, as Councillor Woodhouse says, this is just the beginning of another 2 or 3 years from now. We'll want to even it out to $2.50. And so when's the end? And I think we just need to subsidize at a level. We obviously want seniors and students to be taking the bus, and we want it to be fair and equitable. And I think that might be the happy medium. And I'd welcome a seconder to that.
I second.
Second by Councillor Woodhouse. So on the floor, just so that we can recap, Mr. Mandrake, I know you're probably having a hard time catching all that. So let's just see if it all matches up, if that's okay for me to ask you to do.
Your worship, just on a procedure, I think there is an amendment on the floor, and unless the mover of the amendment accepts your amendment as a friendly amendment.
Oh, yes, correct.
I accept it.
Right, and I think the original amendment came from Councillor Kinney. So Councillor Kinney, do you,
It came, I made the motion.
Excuse me, the original idea came from Councillor Rundawa, but Nelson
but no-
passed
yes,
the motion.
Ma-
But
Councillor Kinney is the one-
The original $24 came from Gurvinder, not from Nelson. Nelson just passed the resolution.
yes, and that's why he made the motion, so I'm referring to Councillor Kinney. So are we able to, okay, and the seconder then for him, which was Mr. Moreau. Okay, so that's fine. So now we've moved into the next phase here. So, Mr. Mandrick, I'm just wondering if you recorded all that or if we can.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have, with the original bylaw outlined, that in addition to those, or the changes would be amended with the additional change of an increase of only $24 up to $24 rather than $45 for a monthly pass for seniors. Seniors and student day prices will stay the same. Will remain with the same 10 tickets for the price of 9. The adult daily ticket will remain at $2, $1.50 for students and seniors, and
So the 10 for 9 for the senior and student.
for seniors and students.
Yeah, and we'll keep the recommendation for the adult.
Which is the amount?
18.
18.
So basically the intention of this is to subsidize some of the seniors and students and increase the monthly pass wages and the adult fares and the ticket systems. Ms. Bonman.
Just for clarification, the tickets for the senior and students would be $13.50, which is 10 tickets for the price of 9 at $1.50. And the day pass was $3.76, and that is what has been proposed to stay instead of $4. Again, that's for the day pass.
Okay.
I'm really lost.
Ms. Bonman.
Councillor Thorkelson, I'll recap the entire schedule. So if you look at Exhibit A, the cash fares, adult would be $2, senior students would be $1.50, child 4 and under, no charge. Tickets, adults, $18, senior student, $13.50, monthly passes, adult, $48, senior student, $40, semester times 4 is still $34, and the day pass, adult would be $4, senior student would be $3.76, and the annual senior pass would be $24. Is that correct?
That's correct. Okay. Mr. Manager.
Yeah, so what we need is a motion, and then we need a seconder for this amendment to what was on the table. And then you can move forward. If there's any other amendments, they can come forward, but we need to get a platform here about what you're voting on.
Okay. Okay, so we have a motion to move those amendments, okay, and seconded, okay. Okay, so now we have that on the floor. So, are we all clear then on all the prices?
I'm still opposed with the $2. I just find it ludicrous that we're going back to last year's schedule, basically last year's schedule, except for a $2 increase for incidental tickets. And if we're doing that, on what basis? If it's on raising revenue, if Councillor Niche is correct, we're not going to be raising hardly any revenue on the $2, and so the $2 will basically mean nothing to the city, but it will mean a dollar increase going or a 50-cent increase to somebody who's going back and forced to work every day on a minimum wage. So anyway, I'm opposed to the amendment on that basis.
Okay. So any other comments? Councillor Niche?
The only one thing that just kind of sounds a little off to me is the day pass, and maybe you can answer this one. The day pass for senior student, you're saying it would be $3.76?
That is what is in the previous bylaw. If council chooses, they could round it down to $3.75.
Right.
With today's rounding off of the penny, I think we should probably take that into consideration.
Okay. Then I would welcome a amendment to what's on the table to round off to 375 for the senior student day pass. Okay, moved by Councillor Otawa, seconded by Councillor Moreau. Okay, so now we're here on the table. We have a rounded off number. I believe we have the balanced way of looking at this. It might not be incremental for budgeting purposes, but I think that we're hitting the mark on what we want to see. We obviously are not approving of going all the way, and we obviously don't want to keep things exactly the same as they were. So now we have some nice rounded numbers, and I think we are including the adults and the students and the seniors as part of this. And so if there's no other further discussion, I'd welcome a question. Okay, so all those in favor? Any opposed?
Aye.
Okay, motion carried.
I like it recorded that I'm
Okay. Okay, so Ms. Bobbin.
Could we proceed with the reading, giving first, second, and third reading to this bylaw now?
Oh,
Amended
yes,
bylaw?
correct. Yeah. Okay, so we have the amendment on the table, and so I'd proceed with the a motion to have first and second and third reading of the 2010 5-year financial plan fees and charges amendment and principal fee setting amendment bylaw number 3295 2010 as amended. Okay. Okay, so all those in favor? Any opposed?
Aye.
Okay. Motion carried.
I like to be recorded as opposed.
Okay. Okay. Now I would entertain a motion to adjourn to continue the in-camera recessed.
Your worship, I don't think we finished the agenda.
I believe we have. Have we not? There is nothing on those. That's why I'm
Questions, inquiries from members of council. Is there a rule that we now have to write them?
The procedural bylaw outlines that any reports or any additional items be stated while we adopt the agenda. And so if at the beginning if there's no additional items in the beginning or no reports put forth in the beginning, that we can skip those titles.
Questions and inquiries have to be done at that time. That certainly is different from the past practice that we've had. That's fine. If that's we should be maybe having a discussion if that's what the procedure bylaw says.
Yes, but at this time, if there is any reports or questions or queries, I welcome it at the moment. If there are other things, but in the future we should state it in the beginning, and that's per procedure bylaw. So if there's any.
So what do we need to state at the beginning? That we have a question, or that what the question is?
Yes, you say during the agenda adoption that I have a report or thing to add at the end of the meeting, or I have an additional item on the agenda that I'd like to add to the end of the meeting, and then that gets adopted in the agenda in the beginning, and that's per the procedure bylaw.
So if somebody has an inquiry, they have to state what the inquiry is at the beginning?
Correct.
Of the meeting?
To my understanding, that's correct.
Okay, that was not, I've been on council since 2005, and that's not how the bylaw was read at that time, understood at that time, but if that's how the meeting is to go, is that how you want those questions ahead of time when we put them on the agenda. So you like all inquiries and questions to be noted at the beginning of the meeting, then as long as that's known by everybody so that they can't make an inquiry at the end of the meeting unless they make it known at the beginning of the meeting that they have an inquiry, that is different.
And I will look over the procedure bylaw, but I was reviewing it recently, and I will take a second look. But at this time, I'm open to if there are inquiries. So, Councillor Cunningham?
This has always been a traditional time when we're not the city of Vancouver, we're Prince Rupert, and when citizens come forward with questions or inquiries to us, this has traditionally been the time we brought it up. To bring it up as an agenda item, you know, it's just a general reports, questions, inquiries from members of council who usually get these reports, inquiries, or questions from the citizens of the town. And I really don't see where we have to put it on the agenda, because some of them are just, like, I got a couple of little announcements that people from the community have come up and said, things like that. And this is where, if somebody comes up with a question about, like last week, about the signs for the park and things like that, this is when we usually bring them up. And to say at the beginning of the meeting, I want to make an announcement about this, or I have a question about that, you're doing the question twice. Once when you're telling you it's on the agenda and this, and if the bylaw has to be changed so we've got inquiries, questions, and reports, I think it should be that way. Because this is the one time during the council meeting when we get to air what the public has told us during the last 2 weeks. And okay, I'll let.
That's absolutely understandable. The intention, I think, of the procedure bylaw is to say that we'd like to know what's on the agenda, so everybody knows what's on the agenda, and that at the end of the meeting that there's not additional items to go on. And so it's just one of those procedures things. We can do it anyway, and it's our rules. So at this moment in time, are there other additional items that I'm open to receive?
Yeah,
Councillor
I
Rothala.
agree with Cunningham, Mr. Councillor. We should leave like at the end. You can ask anybody has any question or inquiries. So we should leave like that.
Absolutely. I'll review it. It might be just about additional items and not the reports section. And if that's the case, I apologize for that.
No, that's okay. That would be appreciated.
So, Councillor Kennedy, you obviously have a couple things to report on.
I've got two things, and one involves in December, there was a food bank drive put on by George Baker at CBC. It was put on at Javadoc Cup, and the city of Prince Rupert donated more than the city of Prince George. And considering we're a third of the population of Prince George, I think that's something that should be noted to the citizens of Prince Rupert. They gave very generously in that, and over $3,000 was given. So I think that's something like, this is these little things that you get to say, and, you know, yeah, we're better in PG.
Awesome, that's great news, actually.
Yeah, and the other thing is, a lot of people in town know Harry Stewart. He just had his 90th birthday, and at that, it was at the Legion, and it came to light that he's been a Legion member, and there's only 6 of them left in Canada, over 70 years. So it's something that should be noted. Yeah. Thank you.
Well, great, thank you. Any other items to report? Councillor
Yes,
Rothala.
I have something to say.
Councillor Rothala as first, and then yourself after.
Yeah, I just a question. Like lots of people ask, why our gas price is always 8-10 cents higher than terrace? Because we have higher taxes, or why? Like, what's the answer?
I believe that's actually a market thing that we really have no control over. And in fact, I have talked to many gas station owners, and they as well don't even know. They get the order from headquarters, and how that game works, I think, is still a mystery to anybody in the industry. And my sneaky suspicion is that a handful of oil companies control the market, so they say what we pay.
I can understand with Alberta or Prince George, right, price, but terrace is like always like 8-10 cents. That's, you can't understand. Can't be that much freight charge or anything else.
I agree. No, I agree. And if I don't think there's anything else much to say, but Councillor Cunningham?
It's all in the transportation. They bring it down a bucket at a time.
Well,
okay, Councillor. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Councillor
I think,
Thorkelson.
I'm sorry.
You're on, Councillor Thorkelson.
Okay, I
My apologies.
wanted to say that, last time somebody from, I think it was the city manager, contacted the some of the local gas stations. The price went down for about a week, so maybe that's we should just ask our city manager every Friday morning to contact a few of the gas companies in town to see if we can urge them to keep their prices the same as Terrace's. But other than that, there doesn't appear to me be any reason, certainly not connected with taxes. But I have two things to report. One is that there was a memorial that I attended for Chief Bob Hill, and Bob passed away before Christmas, but they had a memorial for him on Saturday, and there's another memorial in Hartley Bay next Saturday. And Bob was very active in First Nations politics on the North Coast, and also served on many boards that are pertinent to the city. He served on I think it was the Regional Health Board. He served on the, I believe, on various boards that were put together by the port. He served on the Northern Panel. Unfortunately, I don't have his the write-up that was done by the family on all the contributions that Chief Hill made to the community of Prince Rupert and the North Coast. But he sat on the Pacific Salmon Northern Panel on behalf of the people of the North Coast. And he was head of the Native Brotherhood. He was on the Native Fishing Association. He was head of the Tsimshian Tribal Council for many years, and he was also chief counselor of Hartley Bay. And I think that that it would be a nice thing for the city to send an expression of condolence to the Hill family on the passing of this important chief from the Gitga'at, and I so move that we send condolences for the next Saturday memorial, to be read at the next Saturday memorial, to be held in Hartley Bay.
I'll second that.
Barb Hill.
I'll second that motion. All those in favor? Okay, motion carried. Thank you very much for that, Councillor Thorkelson. That's
Okay, and the second thing is I just want to express my concerns, and I'm going to do it publicly about and maybe it was something that I've missed, although I've tried my best not to miss any council functions, but I don't understand how the decision was made not to have a committee of the whole meeting. And I understand there's a review of the bylaws, or you're reviewing, somebody is reviewing. I certainly haven't been in on the review of communications with the public, and I agree that having communications with the public and have public having more input into city matters is a good thing. But I'm not sure that the committee we are moving forward by getting rid of committee of the whole meetings. And I am certainly open to discussing alternates or what to do with the committee as a whole, but I find myself quite taken aback at decisions that are made to get to do away with things like the committee of the whole, when the practice has been since at least 2005, and Nelson will probably tell you it's been since 2002, that the committee of the whole has existed in order to allow the public to come and make presentations and ask questions of council on items that are important to individuals at a city council meeting, or when city councilors are sitting. So anyway, I'm I'm not concerned that we're reviewing it. I'm concerned at how it's being reviewed and when council is going to have input into this review.
Okay, I can speak to that. I think on this occasion, and correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Mandrick, is that we didn't receive any correspondence from the public regarding any interest in speaking at this meeting. In conjunction with that, we've been loosely chatting about re-engaging the town in a monthly basis outside of council chambers in a way that we can actually start like another session outside of the council member sessions, because a lot of the feedback I'm getting is people don't particularly feel comfortable coming into chamber on camera to discuss things that's of concern to them. And so part of it would be creating some sort of monthly informal, more engaging environment where the public can come and express many different types of concerns on many different topics in a way that's outside of council chambers. It's a way for us to solicit their input, not just from their concerns, but also solutions or things they want to create, and create it more fun and use different facilitation tools, and perhaps use a room at the Civic Center to do that. And then in terms of the committee of the whole, and it's not mandated that we do it like that. The committee of the whole's intention is that it's a way to solicit public feedback within the council meeting regarding an issue that's actually happening on that agenda within that council proceeding. So, for example, the fee structure for the transit could have easily been, we could easily adjourn into a committee of the whole, have the public comment, and then go back into regular meeting to have a discussion. And so this isn't anything loosely happening outside of council's oversight. It's that this particular time, Mr. Mandrick thought it welcome to council the meeting due to the fact that there was no interest, and that's also another reason why when we thought about it afterwards, I said, well, we actually have this transit thing. I figured there would be people coming, so that's why I put item 4C on the agenda as a delegation for transit, because for that. So that's not because we want to cancel committee of the whole. That's going to continue for now. But I think at the same time, we should also see about the effectiveness of committee of the whole. Is it really something that's effective? Is it something while we do council business should be occurring? Or is it something that should be outside of council, and that's something that all that feedback we solicit from the community comes back to us in a more facilitated way that's more constructive and more engaging and a little bit more fun for the public to be a part of. And so this is just a small change I think that we should be looking towards. Nothing's made in stone. We haven't even had a strategic plan yet, which when we do, we'll all talk about it then. So at this particular meeting tonight, it wasn't canceled out of any poor intention or anything. It was just that there was nobody interested. And so, but I did make the recommendation to put the delegation for transit on the agenda, because I knew that might be a topic to talk about. But Councillor Cunningham, you have some thoughts on that?
Well, I don't see why we can't have a meeting of the whole as well as the other forum and see which people enjoy more. Like, you know, I know there's people that like coming here and speaking. It's an official meeting, and you know, from a transparency point of view, the more input we get from people and the more they know that we're willing to listen to them, the better off we all are. I think we in the past have thought that this council wasn't transparent enough, and I love the ideas that you have about facilitating outside of council, but I think we should definitely keep the meeting of the whole, because there are people who like to come here officially and be heard.
And I have no objections to that. So I completely agree, and I think they can happen side by side. I think the interest for us, though, is if we don't have a mechanism to start re-engaging the process of people outside of council, that we don't want committee of the whole meetings to be 2 hours long and then going into council meetings. Like, this is where we do business. We also want to solicit input from the public, but there's probably another way to look at that. And so in terms of committee of the whole, the intention is that it's to comment on items from the agenda, not to necessarily create petitions on council and to come up with a further explanation of things that they want to see in the community, which I think we need a process for that. But specifically, committee of the whole is designed for the public to comment on agenda items, and that's the intention of committee of the whole and why it's created. But I know that the previous councils have used it as a way of engaging the public for and many things. And so I'm just saying, I'd like to keep these council sessions to business, more concise, and have another way that we can get more feedback and another way outside of council meetings, and then have those two become a happy marriage. So that's kind of the thinking a little bit around it. Councillor Cunningham?
I raise this issue not because I disagree with having different ways of engaging people. I think that engaging people in ways where people feel comfortable and is exceedingly important. But I also am concerned about how this council is being engaged, and I certainly want some input into changes that are going to occur. So, for example, that's why I raised the issue of reports, questions, and inquiries from member of council. If there's going to be a procedural change, then I can certainly live with a procedural change. I can voice my opinion on whether I think it's progressive or whether I think it's empowering of the public, or I can express myself at that time about whether I believe it's retrogressive and is taking public time to comment away, or the free time of councillors away to bring up issues that they think are important that perhaps weren't on the agenda, and there is no official or formal report. So it is Mayor Brain, I'm not objecting to change. What I'm objecting to is that I don't feel that I'm being asked for my voice on how those changes are, and I believe my voice, as every council member's voice, is important when we're considering change. And I would like to be consulted and have part of my thoughts included in what may be happening at council. I'm sure every other councillor feels that way as well. That's why they ran, because I think that they have some opinions that are important to the people of Prince Rupert, and we all, of course, I would think would want to engage and to find the best way to do that. And yes, I believe that you're right, that the Committee of the Whole was used as a vehicle to try to engage with the public, and that people came to comment on things other than though that was on the agenda. That people commented on many things that weren't on the agenda. In fact, the question was, do you have a question of the city that we can answer directly? That was the question that the last mayor put at the Committee of the Whole. So people were able to come and make presentations on various items under the old Committee of the Whole structure. If we're going to have a different structure, then I want to be part of the discussion as to how that is going to be structured. I'm sure that everybody else feels that they would like to be part of that conversation. So that's why I'm raising both the Committee of the Whole and this reports, questions, and inquiries from members of council. Because if we're going to be restrictive due to wanting to save half an hour from a council meeting to deal with things that individual councillors believe are important but maybe haven't warranted a staff report, such as what Councillor Cunningham brought up or what I brought up regarding Chief Bob Hill, I believe that those things are part of an important part of council meetings.
Oh, and I'll agree with you, Councillor Thorkelson. And actually, while previously I was looking, I have the procedural bylaw on my phone here, and I did notice it said for additional items only, and not for the reports and that part. So I do apologize that I mixed those two together. I do believe it's important that we hear from the councillors and people who have things to report on. The procedure bylaw actually just mentions that any additional business items need to be raised in the beginning of the agenda. And so my apologies for creating that procedural confusion, and that any procedural things that are to be changed can't be changed unless council votes on them. So there's no way that anything can happen without council approving it, including things like Committee of the Whole. And in this particular instance, it was just council due to no interest. And well, I think we're going to continue on with that. And when we do our strategic plan, I think we're all going to get together and chat about all the things we want to see. and that there's no intention here to create any sort of mass change all at once or anything like that. And that I would love to include you more in the dialogue, and I would love for you to, when you get back to town, to come and give me a call and come and talk, and it's all doors open. So
Sure. Well, I don't feel that the door is closed, but I also feel that the discussion should be in public. I've always felt that, and I think that if we want to amend our procedure bylaw, you know, if it has drifted away from the way it is written, then we should rewrite that procedure bylaw. I think it was last rewritten when maybe in 2003, maybe Councillor Kinney can remember. It was rewritten to give people we're supposed to be giving notice on the 2 Wednesdays prior to the council meeting in order to come and address council, which means that people would have to give notice this Wednesday for the next council meeting, which would be 10 days away, or 2 weeks away. I mean, this Wednesday it would be 13 or 12 days away from the next meeting. They would have to give written notice that they wanted to make a submission. So there are things that were changed in that procedural bylaw that maybe we would like to look over, and maybe maybe what we should do in the future. You can certainly think this over. Maybe the rest of the council can. Maybe we should be setting up a small committee of 2 or 3 councillors to go over the procedural bylaw to make some recommendations on changes that with city council meetings to ensure that they remain open, and if there's things that we need to streamline, also to have things that are streamlined.
I absolutely agree, and I just so you know that having committee of the whole, I don't believe is on the procedure bylaw. It was just a good idea from previous councils, so nothing has changed in terms of us counseling this particular one. So, but I understand what it sparks, because we are a new council and we actually haven't had the ability to sit down yet as on a weekend to do our strategic planning, and so our minds haven't fully linked over how we want to work together. Which is, for me as a facilitator, that's always the first question that I ask from a group is, how do we want to engage each other? And here we are having to be doing business at the same time as trying to figure out our procedures. So completely agree with you, Councillor Thurkelson. I think we should have a small committee that looks that over. I think we should maybe talk as a strategic plan as a council all together when we have the chance, get on the same page with those types of things, and really create a new process for all of us. So, Councillor Cunningham?
2 things. One, I tend to agree with you, Mayor Brain, that as a new council, we've only been a council for a month and a half, basically. We've all been going separate ways. I've been quite busy in other things. You have, Joy has, Gurvinder, Blair, Nelson, and Wade. And I think in the next month or so, we're going to have a little more time. We'll get our feet on the ground, and we'll be able to straighten some of this stuff out. It's just that because we're not together as much as we should be right now, some stuff might be missed. And the other thing I've got to say is kind of stir the pot a little bit, but I really like the idea of engaging the public. I said at an all candidates forum, people elect us to represent them, but it's a two-way street. If they don't come and give us their opinions and what they want done, we can't do it. And so I don't like this idea we run every 4 years and everyone gets all excited and tells everyone what should be going on and then they just disappear again. So I really want the public to come to us, the citizens of this town, and tell us what they want, because that's so important. We can't make these decisions without their input.
And we will get to that level. And I'm hoping by this spring, we're going to have a very good process that's innovative, that's new, that feels that it's actually effective, and people feel and welcome to come. And I just cannot wait to get into that process with the public. And I think we're all kind of in agreement with that. And I do appreciate everything you said, Councillor Thurkelson, because I do want you to know that no changes are emerging whatsoever without council being involved with the conversation. And there actually hasn't been any conversations at great length besides the conversation of what are some other ways of engaging the public, and we haven't had a chance to fully talk about that yet as a council. So rather than talk about this forever, if there's no other reports, Councillor Niche, we've opened the gate.
I will make this really quick. I just wanted to tell the other councillors that weren't there. There was a few of us that went to the Prince Rupert Airport Authority board meeting, and we basically have, stated to them that we want to play a more active role in the airport, and I think basically we just said that we want to be more involved with the airport and work with them. So just for your guys' information.
Thank you. Okay, if there's no other further reports, I'd like to recommend a motion to adjourn to reconvene the in-camera. I'll just finish to reconvene the in-camera recess that we had from previous. Okay, motion by Councillor Redhalla, second by Councillor Cunningham. All those in favor? Okay, motion adjourned, or meeting adjourned. So just stay on the line there, Councillor Thorkelson, and the room will exit.